In the start of the episode, Krai tells us that 6 years ago, he had come to the treasure hunter headquarters of the Imperial City with all of his friends. And now we are shown that Krai is standing outside the headquarters with all his friends. He is feeling quite scared, so he says, "Why don't we all go back from here? I don't think anyone here will accept us." Just then, a girl steps forward and says, "Krai, what are you talking about? We haven't even gone inside the headquarters yet. And besides, it was your idea that we all come to the Imperial City and join the headquarters." Krai laughs and says, "Yes, it was my idea, but I wanted you all to join the Imperial City headquarters because you are all very powerful. But you all dragged me along with you, and if I stay here with you, I will slow down your progress. That's why I want to go back home." Just then, a person steps forward and says, "Krai, you've started talking nonsense again. Never mind, I'll go ahead and open this door." Saying this, he begins moving towards the door of the headquarters. But a girl behind him says, "Luke, you can't do that. Krai is our leader, and if you go ahead and open the door, you'll get all the limelight, which I won't accept. Krai should open the door so that he becomes the hero in everyone's eyes." But Luke ignores her and goes ahead and opens the door directly. Now, he shouts, "Who is the most powerful swordsman in the Imperial City? I, Luke Psychol, challenge him to a fight because I am the most powerful swordsman in this world." Meanwhile, seeing all this, Krai gets even more scared because all his friends are openly challenging the hunters present there to a fight. Just then, everyone notices that none of them have any magical weapons, which surprises everyone even more. Then Luke says, "Our leader Krai says that a warrior doesn't need any magical weapons. If your body is strong, you can face even the greatest dangers." And now, all of Krai's friends start praising Krai continuously. Ignoring them, Krai moves towards the counter and asks the lady at the counter for the registration form to register his team. The lady hands him a form and says, "In this form, you have to fill in the names of all your teammates, as well as select a name and symbol for your team." Hearing this, Krai says, "We haven't thought of any symbol or name for our team yet." Then the lady tells Krai, "Your party will be known by the name and symbol of your party in this place, so you have to choose your name and symbol carefully so that people can recognize you easily." Now, Krai turns around to look at his friends, and they all say that Krai should decide the name and symbol for their party. Hearing this, an idea comes to Krai's mind, and now he draws a symbol on the paper and gives his party a name. He then reads it out loud, "I have named our party Grieving Soul, and this dark skeleton will be our symbol." Hearing this, all his friends are shocked and say, "Krai, what kind of name and symbol have you chosen? We have come here to become a hero party, not an evil organization, and seeing this kind of name and symbol, people will think we are an evil organization." Krai smiles and says, "If you don't like the name and symbol I've chosen, then I'll leave this party and go back home right now." In his mind, he is thinking that his friends will push him out of the party, giving him a chance to return home. But instead, all his friends agree to accept the name and symbol, leaving Krai confused. Now, Krai's friends also start praising the name and symbol he has chosen, which ruins Krai's plan. Krai registers his party with that name and symbol, and within a year, the Grieving Soul party becomes famous everywhere in the Imperial City because Krai's friends are very powerful, and together, they clear many dungeons. As Krai begins walking toward them, Greg becomes visibly distressed. Fearfully, Greg asks, "Krai, are you really the leader of the Grieving Soul who created this entire clan?" Krai scratches his head and answers with a simple, "Yes." Greg, still shocked, asks, "Are you telling the truth? Are you really known here by the nickname Thousand Trick because you can use more than 1,000 skills?" Tino steps forward and says, "So, you found out how incredibly greedy my master is. Now I want the three of you to kneel before my master and apologize because I found out that you were rude to him yesterday." But Krai stops Tino before she can continue. At the same time, Krai is thinking, "I'm known here as Thousand Trick because people believe I possess over 1,000 techniques that I can use to defeat anyone, and I'm also considered an excellent planner. That's why I'm called Thousand Trick. But the truth is far from that. Whenever a party becomes famous in the hunter's world, each member is given a nickname to boost their status. These nicknames are assigned by the leaders of the hunter associations to ensure the members and the party leader maintain respect. Nicknames play a crucial role in a hunter's reputation, and the more dangerous the nickname, the more famous the hunter becomes. My friends have praised me all over the Imperial City. Suddenly, Gilbert stands up in anger and says, I can't believe this person is Thousand Trick. He's supposed to be the most powerful person in the Imperial City, but this guy looks too weak. I could easily defeat him in a fight. Tino responds, Insects like you can't sense my master's true strength. Then Tino turns to Krai and says, Master, this person is continuously insulting you, and I can't stand it. Just give me the order, and I will break all his bones. Krai replies, I've come here to ask for your help today. I want you to go on a mission to the White Wolf Den and rescue some lost adventurers. Will you do this for me? Gilbert immediately objects. I don't believe you're an 8-level hunter. You seem weaker than me, so why should I follow your orders? Hearing this, Greg gets scared and tries to silence Gilbert because he knows that if Krai gets angry, he could kill them all. Greg starts arguing with Gilbert out of fear. Krai then says, Alright, Gilbert, you don't have to be a part of this party. But Greg, Ruda, will you join? Greg immediately agrees, knowing that by joining Tino's party, he'd also become a member of the Grieving Soul party. Krai looks at Ruda and asks, Will you accompany me on this mission? You mentioned yesterday that you need to enter the White Wolf Den to retrieve a treasure. If you go with Tino, you'll be able to collect the treasure easily. Gilbert then asks, Krai, don't you want me to join them on this mission? Krai responds, If you're not interested in joining the party, I won't force you. Then Krai places his hand on Tino's head and says, If you need more help, we'll pick a few more members from our clan. Tino, however, replies confidently, Master, we don't need any more members because you'll be going with us, and with you by our side, there's no danger. Krai laughs and says, Who told you I was coming with you? Tino is visibly disappointed, while Gilbert, who wanted to join Krai's party, is ignored as Krai starts to leave. Frustrated, Gilbert shouts, Trick! I challenge you to a fight! If you defeat me, I'll join your party as a slave. Krai responds, Who said you're joining the Grieving Soul party? You're only joining a branch of it, which Tino leads. If you want to become the leader, you'll have to defeat Tino in a fight. Tino steps forward and says, I accept your challenge. If you defeat me, I'll give you my position as leader. But kid, you don't realize how many mistakes you've made so far. Now it's time for your divine punishment. Hearing this, Gilbert prepares for the fight, and everyone moves to the training ground. Gilbert says, Last time, you attacked me by surprise and knocked me out, but now I'm ready to fight. He turns to Krai and says, After defeating Tino, I will become the leader of this branch of the Grieving Soul, and then I'll challenge you for your position as leader. Krai thinks to himself, What's this guy's problem? Why is he so fixated on me? He tells Gilbert, Tino is only a level 4 hunter. Gilbert is shocked to hear this because he assumed Tino was at least level 5 or 6, given that she knocked him out with one attack last time. Tino puts down her weapons and says, If I use my weapons, you'll be defeated in a single blow. Seeing this, Greg and Ruda start whispering to each other. What is Tino doing? She's a thief, and Gilbert is a swordsman. Without her weapons, she can't beat him because they're on the same level. Krai overhears them and thinks, They're right, the two are on the same level. But Tino has much more fighting experience, which she can use to seriously injure Gilbert. However, Tino may face trouble because Gilbert's sword is a magical weapon. If he uses it during the fight, Tino will lose. Gilbert draws his sword, but then places it on the ground, saying, I'm no coward either. Krai thinks to himself, Gilbert doesn't realize the big mistake he's making. In hand-to-hand combat, he'll never be able to defeat Tino. As the fight begins, Tino attacks Gilbert swiftly, and though Gilbert barely dodges the strike, Tino changes direction mid-air and kicks Gilbert, sending him flying. Everyone is stunned by the display. Tino shouts, Master, did you see that? I defeated him with one attack. But Gilbert, refusing to give up, gets up and says, I haven't lost yet. He tries to attack Tino from behind, but she dodges and locks him in a hold, cutting off his air supply. Tino mocks. Fool, after getting hit once, you should have stayed down. I was going to let you go after one kick, but since you came back for more, prepare for your divine punishment. She tightens her grip, and Gilbert begins to suffocate. Greg and Ruda are terrified, realizing that if this continues, Gilbert will die in seconds. Breaking free from Tino's hold, Gilbert yells, I won't lose so easily! But Tino quickly paralyzes his body with a chop, leaving him unable to move. Tino runs over to Krai, beaming with pride, and says, Master, staying by your side has made me much stronger. Gilbert struggles to stand, but despite using all his strength, he can't move. He remembers how, even as a child, he had more power than normal kids and easily won fights. Inspired by others calling him the future most powerful hunter, he started practicing swordsmanship at a young age, joined a party, explored dungeons, collected treasures, and kept growing stronger. Tino approaches Gilbert and asks, Do you still want to fight, or will you admit defeat? You can even use your magical sword if you like. Gilbert shouts, No! I won't use my sword! Tino responds, You're a fool. Your pride will get you killed one day. She walks back to Krai, leaving Gilbert deep in thought, realizing that if this had been a real battle, he would have died after Tino's first attack. Their levels might be the same, but Tino is at least 10 times more powerful. Krai approaches Gilbert and says, I know why you left your old party. It's because all your former teammates were much weaker than you, and they couldn't keep up with you in dungeons. The skill gap between you was too wide, so you left. Gilbert, surprised, asks, How do you know that? Krai replies, You didn't do anything wrong. If I were in your position, I would have done the same because to become powerful, we must stay with powerful people. I am truly such a fool. That's why Krai goes over to where Gilbert's fallen sword is, and by just touching it with his foot, he draws out the flame energy from the sword. Seeing this, Gilbert's condition worsens even more. He doesn't see Krai touching his sword with his foot, and he begins to think that this person drew out the flame energy from the sword using his mana energy without even touching it. And I still haven't learned to use this technique. This person is really dangerous. Amidst the flames, Krai's face appears to him like that of a demon, which frightens him even more, and he starts to think how Trick is really a monster who just pretends to be an ordinary person. Now he is ready to join Tino's party there. The scene shifts, and Krai explains to us that in our world, materials containing mana are found in dungeons. Using these materials, magical weapons are made, and these magical weapons have mana storage, where magical users can store their mana. In simple terms, all these magical weapons are charged using mana energy. Those who don't have mana energy in them can charge their weapons either by using someone else's mana or by paying for it. Now Krai says that White Wolf Den is a wolf's dungeon where many silver wolves live, and in that dungeon, very valuable mana weapons are also found. Now we see Krai sitting somewhere, reading about the history of White Wolf Denver. He says this dungeon is extremely dangerous because not only silver wolves, but also bloody wolves are found inside it, and just thinking about them scares me. So did I make a mistake by sending Tino and the others into that dungeon? Just then, Eva says, Master, why are you so worried? You are the one who sent them into the dungeon, so you must have thought carefully before doing so. Krai responds, You're absolutely right. This dungeon is only a 6th level dungeon, and Tino, Greg, and Gilbert are all 4th level hunters, so they should be able to clear it easily. Moving forward, Krai thanks Eva because she had already gathered the information that impressed Gilbert. Krai says, It's thanks to the information you provided that I was able to impress Gilbert, which is why he agreed to join Tino's party. Then Krai takes out a pouch from his pocket, which contains several mana rings, and as he cleans them, he thinks, using these rings, I can utilize magical energy here because I don't have mana energy in my body. He then notices that the mana energy in one of the chains he has run out, and that it needs to be recharged. So now he goes to some hunters in his clan, and he gives one of the girls his treasure to charge. While apologizing, he says, "I asked you to do this suddenly, so please forgive me." Just then, the girl's companion says, "Master, you helped us so much in the past. If it weren't for you, either of us would be alive today." Hearing this, Krai laughs and thinks to himself, "It wasn't me who helped them, it was Ark and Eva, yet they give me all the credit." Then the person says, "By the way, Master, have you heard about the strange phantom?" Krai asks, "What kind of phantom?" The person tells Krai that the phantom is very strange. People say it looks just like a wolf, and it has been seen around White Wolf Denver. It has injured and killed many people, and people say it's very powerful. A few days ago, it killed some level 3 guards, proving that it's really strong. Hearing this, Krai becomes even more worried. The lady hunter then tells Krai that no adventurer has gone into White Wolf Den for years to collect treasure, which is why the power of the mana stones inside the dungeon has increased greatly. Because of this, the monsters living there have absorbed the mana energy and become much more powerful. Hearing this, Krai becomes even more worried and thinks, so now there are level 3 monsters inside the dungeon that can easily kill level 3 adventurers. But I shouldn't be worried because Greg, Gilbert, and Tino are all level 4 hunters, so they will easily defeat all those monsters. Just then, the person sitting next to Krai says that the power of the monsters in White Wolf Den keeps increasing, which is why the Hunter Association has decided to raise the level of the dungeon. Currently, it's just a level 3 dungeon, but they are thinking of making it a level 5 or level 6 dungeon so that weak hunters don't go in and risk their lives. Hearing this, Krai is shocked and says, "Why a level 5 or level 6 dungeon?" The person explains that a few days ago, a level 5 adventurer went into the dungeon with his companions, but they all disappeared, which proves that there are monsters in the dungeon that can kill level 4 and level 5 hunters. It is revealed that there are monsters inside the dungeon capable of killing even level 4 and level 5 hunters. At that moment, the girl says, "Yes, I've heard about this. The name of that level 5 hunter was Rudolf Dave. He was a very powerful spearman who could easily defeat level 6 hunters." Hearing this, Krai becomes even more worried. If a level 5 hunter could disappear inside that dungeon, how long could a level 4 hunter possibly survive there? Then, he takes out the punishment list given to him by the Hunter Association and sees that his mission is to find Rudolf Dave and all his level 4 companions. This discovery worsens his state. Seeing Krai in distress, the 2 hunters ask, "Master, are you feeling unwell? You don't seem okay." Krai, now visibly anxious, replies, "I accidentally sent Tino and a few other adventurers into the White Wolf Denver." Hearing this, both adventurers are shocked and begin to think, "Master didn't do this by accident, he did it on purpose because Tino always bothers him." Seeing their worried expressions, Krai becomes even more frightened. He stands up abruptly and says, "I just remembered I have some urgent business to attend to, so I must leave now." Saying this, he quickly runs off. While running, he tries to reassure himself, thinking, "Everything will be fine. Gilbert has a magical weapon with flame power. Using that weapon, he can easily kill level 4 monsters." But then he remembers that he had previously used all the mana energy in Gilbert's sword. This realization makes him even more anxious, wondering if Gilbert had recharged his sword before going on the mission. If not, then everyone's lives are in danger. Now, we see Tino leading the group toward the White Wolf Den, where a dangerous aura surrounds the area. Seeing this, Beck says nervously, "We are still far from the White Wolf Den, but I can already sense the danger coming from it. I feel like something's wrong here." Tino responds, "Master Krai is always 10 steps ahead of normal people. He must have already sensed that something was wrong with the White Wolf Den, which is why he sent us here." Hearing this, Ruda, worried, asks, "So Krai already knew that this dungeon was going to be extremely dangerous?" Tino nods in agreement, and Ruda becomes even more nervous. "Is that why you made us sign the contract before this mission? The one that said if we die on this mission, Krai won't be held responsible?" Tino replies, "Exactly, I knew Master was planning something, so I had you all sign the contract beforehand." This makes everyone even more anxious. Tino then adds, "You should never doubt Master's planning. He must have already come up with some kind of plan to deal with all this. So, we should head into the dungeon without delay and find those people. Ruda, terrified, says nothing. Greg chimes in. Krai is known as the master of thousand tricks because of his exceptional planning skills. I'm sure he already has a strategy in place for us here. So let's move forward without hesitation. Meanwhile, we see Krai, who is still deeply troubled. He thinks to himself, I've made a terrible mistake. Because of me, Tino and the other 3 hunters are all going to die. What should I do? Should I tell my clanmates so that someone can go help them? Standing up, he suddenly remembers that he has many valuable treasures that could help him reach the White Wolf den quickly and stop the others from entering the dungeon. With this thought, he rushes toward his treasure room and begins searching for the right treasure. However, after searching for a while, he doesn't find anything useful. On the other side, we see Tino and the others heading toward the White Wolf den when suddenly a monster attacks Tino. She quickly jumps to avoid the attack, and the group sees a wolf standing before them, but this wolf is wearing armor and holding a sword. Its size is much larger than a normal wolf's. Seeing this, Gilbert, worried, says, This should have been a normal wolf, but it's not. It's a phantom. Tino, smiling, says, I knew it. Master had already predicted that this phantom would escape the dungeon and head toward the city, which is why he sent us here to stop it. Meanwhile, Krai is still searching through the treasure room but finds nothing of use. His gaze then falls on a safe. He quickly opens it and takes out a treasure. Gathering as many treasures as he can, he heads out. On his way, he runs into Eva, who asks, Master, where are you going with all these treasures, and why are you wearing that outfit? Krai replies, It's nothing. I'm just going for a walk, and I'll test out these treasures along the way. Eva then says, Master, you've calculated everything so well, but despite that, you're still worried about them. I know you're going to help them because you're so kind-hearted. She approaches him but suddenly notices a treasure around Krai's neck. This is a Shiri slime, a highly powerful offensive treasure whose attacks are impossible to avoid. So, Master, why are you taking it with you? Krai, startled, says, Oh, I accidentally put it on, thinking it was a locket. But now, I don't have time to put it back, so I'm leaving. With that, he steps out onto his balcony. Standing there, he thinks, All my offensive weapons have run out of mana energy, so I had to resort to bringing my most dangerous weapons with me. He activates a treasure and flies off at great speed toward the White Wolf den. Watching this, Eva, shocked, says, Master is wearing the Raphael, a highly dangerous flying treasure with no brakes. Once someone flies with it, they either die or their body is completely destroyed. It's called the Night Hiker, and its speed is faster than a bullet. But I don't need to worry. Master can easily control the treasure, and I'm sure he already has a plan for how to stop it. Meanwhile, we see Tino and the others ready to fight the phantom. Krai is flying at an uncontrollable speed toward the White Wolf den, and the episode ends here.